So, you're keen to get some great over water shots with your DJI Mini 2, but you're a little bit nervous? Well, I can definitely understand that, as I've been there myself. So in this video, I'll give you my top tips so you'll be able to fly over water with ease and a lot less stress. So don't go away. Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel where we review tech related to making YouTube videos and other gear tips and tricks videos just like this one. So if you're liking this content, be sure to hit that subscribe button and the bell so you don't miss out on any new videos. People get very nervous about flying their drone over water, and rightly so, I guess. After all, if it drops or if something goes wrong, then splat. Or in this case, splash goes your $1,000 toy. But actually, whether it goes splash into the water or splat into the ground, the risk is pretty similar. You should still take the same precautions each time. So in this video, I'll give you my top 10 tips. These are the things that I do every time to make sure that my drone always comes back. So let's get into it. First of all, check the weather conditions. In particular, the wind. And even more importantly, if there is wind, what direction it's coming from. That's because for the outward leg of your flight, if there is wind, you want to be flying into it. The reason being, if you're flying into the wind out, you're going to be flying with the wind or with the wind behind you on the way back, and that is crucial. Lots of people have made the mistake that they think they've got plenty of battery to make it back. But if you're fighting the wind on your way back, and remember this is a super lightweight drone at less than 250 grams, and in those conditions that battery is going to drain really fast. And that could be the last you see of your drone. So if you've sussed that out and you're still going to fly, the next thing to do is see if you need to calibrate the compass before you take off. The advice from DJI is to do this if you're flying the drone further than 6 miles away from your last flight location, if the drone hasn't been flown for a month, or if the DJI Fly app is persistently showing compass interference warnings. It's actually a pretty simple process, and to do it you access the option through the control menu of the DJI Fly app. You just follow the instructions and it takes less than a minute to complete. The app asks you to rotate the drone in various ways, and the whole thing doesn't take long, but it is very well worth doing. Next, and this takes a little patience when you're dying to get your drone in the air, and that is wait. And the reason for that is so the drone can set its return to home point. This is super crucial because if the drone loses connection with the controller, it knows where to fly back. It doesn't take long and can prevent a random flyaway. Now, I was in China with a friend a couple of years ago and his DJI Spark lost connection, and because no return to home point had been set, it took off randomly and we never saw it again. Can you see your drone? I can't even look up there. Oh yeah. Man, it's high and bright. I'll put a link to that video in the description below. Now, the return to home point can be set manually, but it's best to let the drone connect with a number of GPS satellites before takeoff and just let it do it itself. It literally takes a couple of minutes and you'll see a message appear in the app when it's completed and hear the familiar
"The home point has been updated. Please check it on the map."
Next, use sports mode to reduce your time over water. So if you don't need to be, for example, you're not specifically filming over the water, but have to fly over it to get where you need to go, like over a river or something like that, then use sports mode to travel faster over that portion of your journey and minimize your time over the water. My next tip is to not go too low if you don't have to. Now, I've seen some circumstances where if you're sitting above the water and you do pull down on the lever, then the drone may go into landing mode. So the trick is, if you do have to go low over water or you're doing so on purpose to get some cool shots, then keep the drone moving. Along, not down, preferably. If you do have to stop for any reason, try not to be stationary for very long, and if anything, increase your height to reduce the risk. My next tip kind of goes hand in hand with the last one, and that is if you're flying over water for the purposes of getting footage, then utilize the zoom function built into the Mini 2. That way you can fly at a much safer height and use the zoom to make it look like you're a lot closer than you actually are. When you're in video mode, you can zoom up to 2 times in 4K and 2.7K resolutions and up to 4 times zoom in 1080p. The other thing you can do to control the zoom is hold down on the zoom icon on screen, then a slider appears and that allows you to zoom in and out with more control, which is a pretty cool feature. Now it can still be a little tricky to control the zoom on screen, so another even cooler way to do this is to hold down the function button on the controller and use your index finger to operate the gimbal wheel on the left. This actually overrides the gimbal and controls the zoom of the camera instead. Now bear in mind that this is digital zoom, not optical zoom. So you do lose some resolution when you do this, but that's heaps better than losing your drone, right? My next tip is to simply take off from land. Not only does this allow you to set the return to home point before you take off, but if you take off from a moving object on the water, like a kayak for example, first of all your return to home point will be somewhere behind you in the water if the drone needs to come back, and second of all it's actually quite hard landing a drone on a moving object, like a kayak. I found this out the hard way and made a video about that, which you can check out here, or I'll put a link in the description below. Now, I've seen some people say there's more radio interference over water and this can cause problems. I personally don't think this is a real issue, but I don't have any technical data to prove it one way or the other. One way around this, if you do think it's an issue, is to fly higher, as there's less interference at a higher altitude. Now, bear in mind the wind is stronger up there too, and this may have an impact on your battery life if you are having to battle higher winds, so it may be a bit of a trade-off one way or the other, so that's something you'll need to balance out. As for gear that you can get, if you still think you need a safety net, you can always invest a little bit of money into flotation devices like these ones. I'll put a link in the description below if you want to check them out. Now, this landing gear kit is pretty inexpensive, coming in at around $20 US, and can be used for water landing and also for rough terrain, as they effectively increase the distance between the drone bottom and the ground by about 45 millimeters. They're simple to install and remove and don't add too much weight to the body of the drone. I would, however, issue a word of caution, however, if you're going to pop these on when there's a lot of wind around, as they will increase the wind resistance and you may find yourself in a bit of a battle if there's a strong breeze around. I'd also only use them on flat water and not if there are even small waves around. However, they may give you a little bit more insurance and a bit more peace of mind, and if your drone goes down because it runs out of battery or something like that, at least it won't sink. I'll put a link in the description below if you're interested in checking them out. Now, speaking of peace of mind, my last tip relates to mindset. In my view, this is kind of like playing golf when you're teeing off over a water hazard. Yes, you do have to take some precautions. In golf, you might aim in such a way as to take as much of the water hazard out of play as much as possible, but another way is to not even acknowledge that there's water there. Tee off like it's a flat piece of land, and you'd be amazed at the difference that mindset makes. It's kind of the same with this. Yes, take precautions and don't be reckless, but don't worry too much about it either. I reckon I've flown over water as many times as I've flown over land, and almost all of my accidents come from being overconfident and taking the drone closer to objects than I should have, as opposed to the water itself being an issue. Usually it's pilot error. So take care, yes, but don't be scared of it either. Now, I've managed to get some cracking action shots while flying over water and captured these ones recently at my daughter's school camp. It's fair to say I broke a few of my own rules, but I got some cool shots and the drone survived to fly another day. I've made a video about how to do this and it's a lot easier than you think. If you're interested in checking that out, click on the link on screen now and I'll see you over there. Thanks guys.